Hi guys, so I'm gonna read part two for you now of The Alchemist. So if you remember, we left off when the old lady, the gypsy lady, didn't really tell him much about his dream at all. So she asks for 1/10 of his treasure if she can tell him what his dream means, and she doesn't even know where Egypt is. So he just says, okay, well, what if I never get to Egypt then? And she says, then I don't get paid. It wouldn't be the first time. So, he didn't really get what he was looking for from that reading. So he decided that he would never again believe in dreams. He remembered that he had a number of things he had to take care of. He went to the market for something to eat. He traded his book for one that was thicker, and he found a bench in the plaza where he could sample the new wine he had bought. The day was hot and the wine was refreshing. The sheep were at the gates of the city in a stable that belonged to a friend. The boy knew a lot of people in the city. That's what made traveling appeal to him. He always made new friends, and he didn't need to spend all his time with them. When someone sees the same people every day, as had happened with him at the seminary, they wind up becoming a part of that person's life. And then they want the person to change. If someone isn't what others want them to be, the others become angry. Everyone seems to have a clear idea of how other people should lead their lives, but none about his or her own. Does that sound familiar at all? He decided to wait until the sun had sunk a little bit lower in the sky before following his flock back through the fields. 3 days from now, he would be with the merchant's daughter. He started to read the book he had bought. On the very first page, it described a burial ceremony, and the names of the people involved were very difficult to pronounce. If he ever wrote a book, he thought he would present one person at a time so that the reader wouldn't have to worry about memorizing a lot of names. When he was finally able to concentrate on what he was reading, he liked the book better. The burial was on a snowy day, and he welcomed the feeling of being cold. As he read on, an old man sat at his side and tried to strike up a conversation. "What are they doing?" the old man asked, pointing at the people in the plaza. "Working," the boy answered dryly, making it look as if he wanted to concentrate on his reading. Actually, he was thinking about shearing his sheep in front of the merchant's daughter so that she could see that he was someone who was capable of doing difficult things. He had already imagined the scene many times. Every time the girl became fascinated when he explained that the sheep had to be sheared from back to front. He also tried to remember some good stories to relate as he sheared the sheep. Most of them he had read in books, but he would tell them as if they were from his personal experience. She would never know the difference because she didn't know how to read. Meanwhile, the old man persisted in his attempt to strike up a conversation. He said that he was tired and thirsty and asked if he might have a sip of the boy's wine. The boy offered his bottle, hoping that the old man would leave him alone. But the old man wanted to talk, and he asked the boy what book he was reading. The boy was tempted to be rude and move to another bench, but his father had taught him to be respectful of the elderly. So he held out the book to the man for two reasons. First, that he himself wasn't sure how to pronounce the title, and second, that if the old man didn't know how to read, he would probably feel ashamed and decide of his own accord to change benches. Said the old man, looking at all sides of the book as if it were some strange object. "This is an important book, but it's really irritating." The boy was shocked. The old man knew how to read and had already read the book, and if the book was irritating, as the old man had said, the boy still had time to change it for another. "It's a book that says the same thing almost all the other books in the world say," continued the old man. "It describes people's inability to choose their own destinies, and it ends up saying that everyone believes the world's greatest lie." "What's the world's greatest lie?" the boy asked, completely surprised. "It's this, that at a certain point in our lives we lose control of what's happening to us, and our lives become controlled by fate. That's the world's greatest lie." Okay, guys, I'm going to say that again. That's really important. At a certain point in our lives, we lose control of what's happening to us, and our lives become controlled by fate. That's the world's greatest lie. Okay, so let's try to think about that. In Relevance 2, Othello. In Relevance 2, Slumdog Millionaire. And Never Let Me Go, right? Fate occurs. The theme of fate occurs in so many works of literature. And this old man is saying it's a lie. "That's never happened to me," the boy said. "They wanted me to be a priest, but I decided to become a shepherd." "Much better," said the old man, "because you really like to travel." He knew what I was thinking, the boy said to himself. The old man! The old man, meanwhile, was leafing through the book without seeming to want to return to it at all. The boy noticed that the man's clothing was strange. He looked like an Arab, which was not unusual in those parts. Africa was only a few hours from Tarifa. One only had to cross the narrow straits by boat. Arabs often appeared in the city, shopping and chanting their strange prayers several times a day. "Where are you from?" the boy asked. "From many places." "No one can be from many places," the boy said. "I'm a shepherd. I've been to many places, but I come from one place. From a city near an ancient castle. That's where I was born." "Well, then, we could say, I was born in Salem." The boy didn't know where Salem was, but he didn't want to ask, fearing that he would appear ignorant. He looked at the people in the plaza for a while. They were coming and going, and all of them seemed to be very busy. "So what is Salem like?" he asked, trying to get some sort of clue. It's like it's always been." No clue yet, but he knew that Salem wasn't in Andalusia. If it were, he would already have heard of it. "And what do you do in Salem?" he insisted. "What do I do in Salem? Well, I'm the king of Salem." People say strange things, the boy thought. Sometimes it's better to just be with the sheep who don't say anything. And better still to be with one's books. They tell their incredible stories at the time when you want to hear them. But when you're talking to people, they say some things that are so strange you don't even know how to continue the conversation. "My name is Melchizedek," said the old man. "How many sheep do you have?" "Enough," said the boy. He could see that the old man wanted to know more about his life. "Well, then, we have got a problem. I can't help you if you feel you've got enough sheep." The boy was getting irritated. He wasn't asking for help. It was the old man who had asked for a drink of his wine and had started the conversation. "Give me my book," the boy said. "I have to go and gather my sheep and get going." "Give me 1/10 of your sheep," said the old man, "and I'll tell you how to find the hidden treasure." The boy remembered his dream, and suddenly everything was clear to him. The old woman hadn't charged him anything, but the old man, maybe he was her husband, was going to find a way to get much more money in exchange for the information about something that didn't even exist. The old man was probably a gypsy, too. But before the boy could say anything, the old man leaned over, picked up a stick, and began to write in the sand of the plaza. Something bright reflected from his chest with such intensity that the boy was momentarily blinded. With a movement that was too quick for someone else's age, the man covered whatever it was with his cape. When his vision returned to normal, the boy was able to read what the old man had written in the sand. There, in the sand of the plaza of that small city, the boy read the names of his father and his mother and the name of the seminary he had attended. He read the name of the merchant's daughter, which he had not even known, and he read of things he had never told anyone. "I'm the king of Salem," the old man had said. "Why would a king be talking with a shepherd?" the boy asked, awed and embarrassed. "For several reasons, but let's say that the most important thing is that you have succeeded in discovering your destiny." The boy didn't know what a person's destiny was. "It's what you have always wanted to accomplish. Everyone, when they are young, knows what their destiny is. At that point in their lives, everything is clear and everything is possible. They are not afraid to dream, and yet and to yearn for everything they'd like to see happen to them in their lives. But as time passes, a mysterious force begins to convince them that it will be impossible for them to realize their destiny." None of what the old man was saying made much sense to the boy, but he wanted to know what this mysterious force was. The merchant's daughter would be impressed when he told her about that. "It's a force that appears to be negative, but actually shows you how to realize your destiny. It prepares your spirit and your will, because there is one great truth on this planet. Whoever you are or whatever it is you do, when you really want something, it's because the desire originated in the soul of the universe. It's your mission on Earth." Okay, that's pretty powerful, guys. It's about finding your bliss. And when you find your bliss, sometimes it's encouraging to think that the universe, the soul of the universe, is aligned with you in going for that personal legend. So that's kind of what I'm having you do with your projects. You're going to devise your own kind of goal for your own destiny, and then you can see if you have the experience that you anticipated, or maybe it'll be even better than what you thought. "Even when all you do is want to travel or marry the daughter of a textile merchant, Yes, or even search for treasure. The soul of the world is nourished by people's happiness, and also by unhappiness, envy, and jealousy. To realize one's destiny is a person's only real obligation. All things are one. And when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you achieve it. They were both silent for a time, observing the plaza and the townspeople. It was the old man who spoke first. Why do you tend a flock of sheep? Because I like to travel. The old man pointed to a baker standing in a shop window at one corner of the plaza. When he was a child, that man wanted to travel too, but he decided first to buy his bakery and put some money aside. When he's an old man... Sorry, guys. It's like almost 11 o'clock right now at night. I'm tired. But he decided first to buy his bakery and put some money aside. And when he's an old man, he's going to spend a month in Africa. He never realized that people are capable at any time in their lives of doing what they dream of. See, guys, it's never too late to follow your dream. Even when you're 80 years old, you can discover it and go for it. He should have learned to become a shepherd, the boy said. Well, he thought about that, the old man said, but bakers are more important people than shepherds. Bakers have homes, while shepherds sleep out in the open. Parents would rather see their children marry bakers than shepherds. The boy felt a pang in his heart thinking about the merchant's daughter. There was surely a baker in her town. The old man continued, in the long run, what people think about shepherds and bakers becomes more important for them than their own destinies. Sees what he's saying there? Yeah, so he's saying that some people listen so much to what other people think that they forget what their own mission was because they want to please others or be accepted by others. So then they'll sacrifice, their passion to, again, be accepted and loved and do the right thing or do the thing that's the norm. Right, so where was I? Yeah. The old man leafed through the book and fell to reading a page he came to. The boy waited and then interrupted the old man just as he himself had been interrupted. Why are you telling me this? Because you are trying to realize your destiny, and you're at the point when you're about to give it all up. And that's when you always appear on the scene? Not always in this way, but I always appear in one form or another. Sometimes I appear in the form of a solution or a good idea. At other times, at a crucial moment, I make it easier for things to happen. There are other things I do too, but most of the time people don't realize I've done them. The old man related that the week before he had been forced to appear before a miner and had taken the form of a stone. The miner had abandoned everything to go mining for emeralds. For 5 years, he had been working on a certain river and had examined hundreds of thousands of stones looking for an emerald. The miner was about to give it all up, right at the point when, if he were to examine just one more stone, just one more, he would find his emerald. Since the miner had sacrificed everything to his destiny, the old man decided to become involved. He transformed himself into a stone and rolled up to the miner's foot. The miner, with all the anger and frustration of his 5 fruitless years, picked up the stone and threw it aside. But he had thrown it with such force that it broke. The stone it fell upon, and there embedded in the broken stone was the most beautiful emerald in the world. People learn early in their lives what is their reason for being, said the old man with a certain bitterness. Maybe that's why they give up so early on it too, but that's the way it is. The boy reminded the old man that he had said something about hidden treasure. Treasure is uncovered by the force of flowing water, and it is buried by the same current, said the old man. If you want to learn about your own treasure, you'll have to give me 1/10 of your flock. What about 1/10 of my treasure? The old man looked disappointed. If you start out by promising what you don't even have yet, you'll lose your desire to work toward getting it. The boy told him that he had already promised to give 1/10 of his treasure to the gypsy. Gypsies are experts at getting people to do that, sighed the old man. In any case, it's good that you've learned that everything in your life has its price. That's what the warriors of the light tried to teach us. The old man returned the book to the boy. Tomorrow, at this time, bring me 1/10 of your flock, and I will tell you how to find the hidden treasure. Good afternoon. And he vanished around the corner of the plaza. Do you see, guys, how this is kind of like a parable? It's kind of magical, questionable things are happening. I mean, this old man / King of Salem, he speaks in metaphors and archetypes. I mean, the soul of the universe, and he just talked about personal legend and the warriors of the light. Who are the warriors of the light? The boy began again to read the book, but he was no longer able to concentrate. He was tense and upset because he knew the old man was right. He went over to the bakery and bought a loaf of bread, thinking about whether or not he should tell the baker that what the old man had said about him. Sometimes it's better to leave things as they are, he thought to himself, and decided to say nothing. If he were to say anything, the baker would spend 3 days thinking about giving it all up, even though he had gotten used to the way things were. The boy could certainly resist causing that kind of anxiety for the baker, so when he began to wander through the city and found himself at the gate, there was a small building there with a window at which people bought tickets to Africa, and he knew that Egypt was in Africa. "Can I help you?" asked the man behind the window. "Maybe tomorrow," said the boy, moving away. If he had just sold one of his sheep, he'd have enough to get to the other shore of the strait. Whew. The idea frightened him. "Another dreamer," said the ticket seller to his assistant, watching the boy walk away. "He doesn't have enough money to travel." While standing at the ticket window, the boy had remembered his flock and decided that he should go back to being a shepherd. In 2 years, he had learned everything about shepherding. He knew how to shear sheep, how to care for pregnant ones, how to protect sheep from wolves. He knew all the fields and pastures of Andalusia, and he knew what was fair price for every one of his animals. He decided to return to his friend's table by the longest route possible, and he walked past the city's castle, and he interrupted his return, and he climbed the stone ramp that led up to the top of the wall. From there he could see Africa in the distance. Someone had told him that it was from there that the Moors had come to occupy all of Spain. He could almost see the entire city from where he sat, including the plaza where he had talked with the old man. "Curse the moment I met that old man," he thought. He had come to the town only to find a woman who couldn't interpret his dream. Neither the woman nor the old man were at all impressed by the fact that he was a shepherd. They were solitary individuals who no longer believed in things, and they didn't want that shepherds become attached to their sheep. He knew everything about each member of his flock. He knew which ones were lame, which ones were to give birth 2 months from now, and which ones were the laziest. He knew how to shear them. He knew how to slaughter them. If he ever did decide to leave them, they would suffer. The wind began to pick up. He knew that wind, people call it the Levanter, because the Moors had come from the Levant at the eastern end of the Mediterranean. The Levanter increased in intensity. "Here I am, between my flock and my treasure," the boy thought. He had to choose between something he had become accustomed to and something he wanted to have. There was also the merchant's daughter, but she wasn't as important as his flock because she didn't depend on him. Maybe she didn't. For her, every day was the same, and when each day is the same as the next, it's because people fail to recognize the good things that happen in their lives every day that the sun rises. That is a good line, guys. I'm going to read it again. So, when each day is the same as the next, it's because people fail to recognize the good things that happen in their lives every day that the sun rises. So you should have a gratitude journal and write down at least 3 really good things that happen to you in your day. "I left my father and my mother in the town castle behind. They have gotten used to my being away, and so have I. The sheep will get used to my not being there too," the boy thought. From where he sat, he could observe the plaza. I'm really sorry, guys. People continued to come and go from the baker's shop. A young couple sat on the bench where he had talked to the old man, and they kissed. "That baker," he said to himself without completing the thought. The Levanter was still getting stronger, but he felt its force on his face. The wind that brought the Moors, yes, but it also brought the smell of the desert and of veiled women. It had brought with it the sweat and the dreams of men who once left to search for the unknown, for gold and adventure, and for the pyramids. The boy felt jealous of the freedom of the wind, and he saw that he could have the same freedom. There was nothing to hold him back except himself. The sheep, the merchant's daughter, the fields of Andalusia were only steps along the way to his destiny. The next day, the boy met the old man at noon. He bought 6 sheep with him. "I'm surprised," the boy said. "My friend bought all the other sheep immediately. He said that he always dreamed of being a shepherd, and that was a good omen." "That's the way it is. That's the way it always is," says the old man. "It's called the principle of favorability. When you play cards the first time, you're almost sure to win. Beginner's luck." Why is that? Because there is a force that wants you to realize your destiny, and it whets your appetite with just a taste of success. Then the old man began to inspect the sheep, and he saw that one was lame. The boy explained that it wasn't important since the sheep was the most intelligent of the flock and produced the most wool. "Where is the treasure?" he asked. It's in Egypt near the pyramids. The boy was startled. The old woman had said the same thing, but she didn't charge him anything. In order to find the treasure, you have to follow the omens. God has prepared a path for everyone to follow. You just have to read the omens that he left for you. Before the boy could reply, a butterfly appeared and fluttered between him and the old man. He remembered something his grandfather had once told him, that the butterfly is a very good omen. Like crickets and like expectations, like lizards and four-leaf clovers. That's right, said the old man, who's able to read the boy's thoughts just as your grandfather taught you. These are good omens. Okay, I gotta stop there for a second, guys.